Welcome to Sixth Row Center, your best seat in the house for movie chat. I'm Heath. That's JD. Hello, JD.
Hey, everybody.
Today we're going to be talking about the 2025 black comedy action thriller One Battle After Another, which was written and directed by Paul Thomas Anderson, who has written and directed a bunch of great films like Boogie Nights, Magnolia, Punch Drunk Love, There Will Be Blood, to name a few. The movie was loosely based on the 1990 Thomas Pynchon novel Vineland, and is about a former anti-government revolutionary trying to rescue his kidnapped daughter from rogue military agents. This marks the second time Anderson has adapted a Pynchon book, after previously doing Inherent Vice. One Battle After Another stars Leonardo DiCaprio, Sean Penn, Benicio del Toro, Regina Hall, Teyana Taylor, Tony Goldwyn, and Chase Infiniti. I found a bunch of different budget numbers, anywhere from $130 million to $175 million. And it grossed $210 million at the box office, making it a moderate financial success, though it didn't do terribly well in America and fell far short of its $300 million gross projection. It was very well received by critics, many of whom describing it as a masterpiece, though audiences found it kind of polarizing, either the greatest film ever or the worst film ever, due mostly to its political subject matter. One Battle After Another was nominated for 12 Oscars, including Best Sound, Production Design, Original Score, Cinematography, Supporting Actress for Teyana Taylor, Supporting Actor for Benicio del Toro, Actor in a Leading Role for Leonardo DiCaprio, and it won Best Film Editing, Best Casting, Best Adapted Screenplay, Best Supporting Actor for Sean Penn, Best Director for P.T. Anderson, and it was the best movie of 2025, according to the Academy. I don't see very many movies at the theater anymore, but I did get off my cheap, lazy ass to go and see this, and I'm glad I did it, because P.T. Anderson shot this movie in VistaVision, which is a slightly wider 1.85 to 1 aspect ratio. Usually it's known for its super high resolution. It was used a lot in the 60s. It's only used recently, just a handful of times. And it was sort of the precursor to IMAX. So again, it was a really big, beautiful frame. And it does make for a difference, in my opinion, a superior view on the big screen as opposed to other movies that I just wouldn't even mind seeing at home. I definitely enjoyed the movie, and we'll talk about its strengths and flaws. But first, JD, tell me about your experience seeing it and what you thought of One Battle After Another.
Well, I did not see it in the theater. I just recently watched it on TV on HBO. I enjoyed the film quite a bit. It was a fun watch, a bit heavy. It was a kind of unique storytelling format. I thought the first part was very over the top and super dramatic. I felt that the film, first of all, screams a mashup between Natural Born Killers and The Big Lebowski.
Okay.
Mickey and Mallory met the dude and actually had like a political message instead of just random crime. But all the stuff with the hypersexualization, to me, so early in the film, pretty much took me out of taking it seriously. Like, despite the heavy stuff with all the ice and all of that, which was almost documentary style, like felt very heavy. But then you had the super hypersexualization going on, and also the rebels, I don't know what you'd call them, the French 75 group, our protagonist's group, was playfully over the top. Yeah, I felt, even what's going on in the bank and everything, or whatever, like when they're doing their kids, taking their actions, it's all like for social media. It's all like super, even the way they talk and the way they conduct themselves, I felt harkened back to Natural Born Killers. And then, of course, Leo DiCaprio is basically the dude thrust into Natural Born Killers, or whatever movie, I'm not saying that I don't want to compare the rebel people to just Mickey and Mallory, right? Like, they're not the same, but I think you know what I mean. Like, the way their story was told was in a very almost comic bookish, hero-ish, they were painted with a fun stroke, whereas the other folks, the bad guys, then in this case, or in the film's context, the bad guys were very bleak, very serious, not fun or funny at all. So there's that. Now I know we're going to talk about the different aspects of the film. I know you're going to talk about P.T. Anderson and his directing, and I'm just going to comment on that and say it was wonderfully shot, really a joy to watch from that perspective as a film nerd, to just watch how the camera is pretty much always moving. There's the shots are never dull. There's a whole chunk of the movie where they're just driving through the desert, and that feels. I mean, they're not in a chase, right? They're driving, or at least they're not in a super active chase, and yet it's super tense. The way he filmed it, it's really visually interesting, and then really, really, really good job directing. So hats off to him. The story to me was a little bit of a letdown. Was a little bit playful, too playful for me, and kind of ridiculous, including Sean Penn's character. Was an absurd.
I like Sean Penn's character because it was kind of ridiculous. It was a character that I'd never really seen before.
No, yeah, and exactly. If this is what they're going for, then I got it. But I kind of feel like I'm not sure that that's what they were going for. I don't know if they meant for me to be laughing.
Well, I think the tone of the movie, a lot of people got different opinions of. Because what I've seen people speaking or talking about is, some people think it's a really serious movie. Some people think it's like a political statement movie, and that all these characters should be taken seriously, like all of it. I'm not sure I agree with it, because I think, like you, I thought it was like really comedic. I thought there were all sorts of comedic things all through it. You talk about the people on the left, or they considered the left, which I guess they were like political terrorists. They were hilarious. And then what happens to DiCaprio, that he becomes this, complete burnout. But I'll be honest with you, I thought the people on the right were just as hilarious. Like you said, with Sean Penn's character. I mean, that was funny freaking character. The organization that he wanted to join, the Christmas Adventurers. When I heard that, I laughed out loud. I thought it was hilarious. He was satirizing like everything.
Yeah.
They started their meetings by saying, "Hail Saint Nick," instead of "Hail Satan." I mean, that's funny.
Yeah. They're full grown.
But I think people took
deep, dark, serious guys, and they're saying "Hail Saint Nick." And no, I agree. Satire is a great word. I don't know why I didn't think of it that way, but
there's a scene with one of the real bad guy who's walking through this like maze complex to get to a meeting with these Christmas adventurers, and while he's walking, there's "Hark the Herald Angels" singing. I mean, it was just funny, one funny thing after another. And I think a lot of people didn't see that because they were so caught up in what they thought was a political message. I'd actually really like to talk to you about what sort of a message you got from the film. What do you think the film was about? The story, what did you think it meant? Was there a deeper meaning, or was it just sort of the kidnapping?
Oh, no, I think there's a message there, but I think satire is the first message. Like, it's or black humor. Now, there's a message about how shitty things are. If anything, I would say that the filmmaker seems to have I wouldn't say neutral, but he's definitely making fun of the left as much as the right. But the right are the ones doing terrible things in the movie, and I don't think that's by mistake.
I mean, the left are blowing things up and
true.
Literally murdering people.
No, right.
I saw this one person. It doesn't matter who it was, but somebody made a comment about. We're going to get into spoilers on this because we get into spoilers on the stuff that we talk about, and it's hard to discuss deep about a movie without talking about the details. But how the daughter ends up rescuing herself. She doesn't wait for Leonardo DiCaprio to come and save her, right? By the time he gets there, she's already saved herself.
Yeah.
But I don't understand how this guy didn't see that it was the Indian, the right-wing bounty-hunting murderer who saved her. He gets himself killed, but he killed all of the military guys, all the soldiers who were going to kill her, and then she just takes his car and escapes. I actually thought there were problems I had with the movie. The biggest problems were when I watched it yesterday as I was breaking it down, I didn't get the feeling because I was stopping it every 10 seconds to write something down. So it wasn't like I was watching the movie for an enjoyment purpose like I did when I first saw it. I always watch a movie to see if I can enjoy it first.
Of course.
And in the theater, which was a great experience, I felt afterwards that it was kind of long, and there were kind of some spots that I wouldn't say dragged, there was a lot of kind of bullshit factor. Like I was saying with that ending, if you don't understand what's going on in the scene, she escapes from these killers that Sean Penn had given her to, and she's driving a car down the road, and this other car comes up really fast behind her. Now, she doesn't know this because she's never seen this guy, and she doesn't know who this guy is. But it's just some car coming really fast behind her, and for whatever reason, she's decided that this other car, the driver, is out to get her, right?
Because there's nobody else, and she's just fled the compound. Like, so it fits the story, but you're absolutely right that
she stops the car, right? He smashes into it. He gets out, and he's like, stunned because it could have just been anyone driving fast on a road, right? And she starts shouting out this password that he doesn't know. A normal person, any person, would not have known about this password. And so without anything else, she shoots him. Yeah. Now, granted, after she shoots him, he draws a gun and tries to kill her back. But, this is like, I don't know where it was, Arizona or something. People have guns there. And if somebody shoots at me, I'm probably going to draw my gun if I don't get killed. And then she kills him. So it's like, well, that was something I didn't particularly like.
That's interesting because I share the whole, it was cool that she saved herself. I have that, like, she's the only kind of pure character in the whole movie because the protagonist's side were blowing stuff up. And most of the protagonists from the beginning of the movie, by the time you get to the end and they're older, they've all abandoned it and pretty much outgrown it. It's almost Clockwork Orange-ish in that, yes, we used to do crazy shit, only we've outgrown that now, and kind of saying that was not the right way to deal with any of this. But without it ever getting heavy, it's a satire, it's an action movie, it's wonderfully shot. The car chase, the guy, I know I already talked about it, but just magnificent. One of the best ever. Like way up there.
Yeah, the cinematography was great. He kept the tension up. It was kind of two different stories. The first part with the whole revolution, and then the revolution kind of ending when, see, that's another thing, people talk about, or you even mentioned how the bad guys were really bad per se, and they were more serious and they weren't being made fun of, although they were, as far as I'm concerned. And that the good guys were like, they're the protagonists. Yeah, they did some bad stuff, but they're good people. But the mother was not a good person. I mean, I don't think there's any way you could say she was a good person.
No.
She abandons her child. She rolls over. She's a rat. She gives up all of her friends. And they get murdered. The friends get murdered.
Yeah.
I wanted to ask you, so the movie sort of ends with, after the young girl gets rescued, Leonardo DiCaprio, is her father, takes her back home, and he says, look, I have this letter from your mother. And she's like, oh, I'm hoping we can have some sort of relationship or whatever. What did you think about that? Because all I could think about was, you abandoned me when I was a child, and you're a rat.
Yeah, I was going to ask you this same question. Did she follow up? What do you think? Did she ever reach out?
Well, I think she did, only because the way her expressions while she was listening, and she wanted to be a revolutionary too, so they have like common ground. But I don't know. I mean, what do you think about that? I don't think I think you have to, as a person, as a human being, you have to allow people to make amends. There are very few things a person can do that you can't make amends for. I think in today's society, one of the huge problems we have as a group of people is that somebody does whatever that another person doesn't like, and then boom, they're out of your life. Never want to hear from you again. You're canceled. Even if it's not like a cancel, like a, you can't get work or whatever. It's like, you're canceled from my life. And I see that all the time. And oftentimes it is politically motivated, but all sorts of other things. When we were kids, the worst thing you could do, what I had been raised to believe, the worst thing you could do is murder somebody. That's the worst thing you could do. Killing somebody, that's terrible. Yeah. But today, it's like, if you say something wrong, that's worse than murder. And I think that's really weird. It's a weird thing that has happened in our society.
Yeah, that's a bit extreme. I understand the whole cancel culture.
Dave Chappelle does this joke. Does this joke about a true story about some rapper. I don't remember who it is. I heard the joke. It was funny, and I won't do it justice. But basically, he was talking about this rapper who literally murdered somebody. And he went to jail for whatever, and he got out. And he's fine. He was accepted back into society and whatever. And then he, insulted somebody, and that's it. He's been canceled now. And it's true. It's a true story. if this person is your mother and she's sending you a letter saying, hey, I know I did all this stuff, but I'd still like to have a relationship with you and maybe we could care about each other again. How do you feel about that? Again, I'm the sort of person who's always been brought up to believe that you give people chances, even if it's second and third and fourth chances, until it gets to the point where I can't deal with you anymore, which has happened to me. But most people, how bad is it? What did somebody do to you that was so bad that person can't make amends? And what did you think about, with the letter?
I thought the letter was great and a realistic kind of touch. And I would guess that she did go see her mother, but not necessarily has a relationship with her, right? Because part of the dad at the end was him reckoning with she was not a great person, the mom, like telling her, listen, I've only been giving you the good stuff. I would project onto the character and say, I hope that they don't have a relationship, that she never really forgave her for abandoning her as a child. But at the same time, I don't see as a human being, you could fully resist the desire to at least meet her once.
Yeah.
And tell her everything and find out about the Sean Penn situation, being her dad and all that.
Yeah.
Going on there. And he was completely crazy. Again, was so crazy.
They were both pretty crazy.
They were both crazy. And I could almost see that connection or whatever. But she was so over the top. She was so ridiculously over the top. It was...
I don't know. She reminded me of some of the Pam Grier stuff from the 70s where, Foxy Mama, she was a badass and she talked like that and she was sexual like Pam Grier. And I didn't watch a lot of those movies, so I can't say. She didn't have the same occupation, say, as Teyana Taylor in this movie where she was a political terrorist. But badass black girl, that's kind of been done before.
No, sure. But she was...
It was really the Sean Penn character that I've never seen anything like that before. I thought it was great. I thought he was hilarious. I don't know if he came up with these things or if it was in the script from P.T. Anderson. The way he walked,
the walk was definitely hilarious.
Like he had something stuck up his ass. I mean, it was funny. Yeah. Or the way he would lick his comb and do his hair.
Yeah.
I once saw that in an old documentary. It was something about Reagan in the 80s and the whole Iran-Contra affair, getting way into something a lot of people might not even know about. The government was doing horrible things, just like they are now, and it was a documentary about these government officials, and one of them, I think it was Paul Wolfowitz, but I can't remember. They had him on camera, and he was doing that exact same thing. He was licking his comb and just repeatedly doing that, and I was like, do people do that? That's just gross. I guess Sean Penn does that. Or Sean Penn's character, not Sean Penn.
Yeah.
And I love the haircut that he had, too.
Yeah. The whole character. He was a unique character. It was kind of like Chris Cooper's character from American Beauty.
The military-ish, yeah.
Yeah. Well, and the whole repressed or some kind of weird personality.
Sexual repression, certainly.
Yeah,
certainly.
And then just it made you a bizarre character. But he was...
In the book, I didn't read the book, but I know a little bit about the book. When the Perfidia character, the Perfidia Beverly Hills character meets him, she falls madly in love with him. And that's why she kind of does some of the things that she does that you're like, how could you do these things? Because she was totally desperately in love with this guy. She leaves her husband. And that's not how it was in the movie. In the movie, she uses him because she sees she can because he's so attracted to her, which is another reason why I think she was such a terrible person. The character is not a good person. And yet she's considered a good guy. She's like the cool, badass, good guy. I think people perceive that. I don't perceive that, as I've said.
Yeah. I think she was pretty much a rotten character, and everybody called her a rat. Say complex. ICE stuff, all the immigration stuff was so comical.
She's a hero.
People came in with that baggage and projected that onto her, and I think that is part of it. Be careful who you hero worship. Just because somebody's a jerk doesn't mean they deserve to have buildings blown up and innocent people killed and all. Like she was absolutely using everybody. She loved all the attention. She was getting a high from being a revolutionary. I do think as a person she had that ultra motivated personality, but also egocentric personality. I totally got that they would potentially be legitimately attracted to each other. her and Sean Penn's character, because they were both in that other mindset of the whole world is my oyster. You're all here for me. I'm just going to do whatever it takes to fulfill my own desires. I don't think her political motivations were false. Like, I think she was trying to do good things, but her real main motivation was to live her own life,
To be free, as she says.
Be free, yeah, be free. It's hard to identify and give her any room at all when she abandoned her family openly and knowingly. It was not, she clearly got up and left, walked out the door knowing exactly what she was doing.
And yet there was a little bit trying to justify that, where she's complaining to her husband about how after she had a child, he is ignoring her. He's not treating her the same. It's all about the child, and she was getting jealous, even though she said, it's horrible for me to think these things. That's how I feel. I think a lot of people feel that way, and not just women, but men. After a woman has a child, sometimes it's all about the child and no longer about your husband or your wife in this case. I don't have kids, so I can't say anything about that, but I've certainly seen it before.
Sure.
But not that that's an excuse, not that it's an excuse for her, but that was the excuse they gave her in the movie.
Yeah, if they had toned her down just like a quarter step, I would have felt a lot more. It was just so over the top. She was so hypersexual, constantly. Everything was pussy this and pussy that, and just over the top. So, of course, with Sean Penn's character, and I do think that's the whole point. I think we're talking now for quite a bit about, was all of this deliberate? Are there any real good guys in this movie? And only the daughter, I would say, is the only.
You don't think the DiCaprio character was a good guy?
No, he was blowing stuff up and having fun blowing it up and having fun playing his role. Now, I think he was more authentic, along with his vulnerability, made him more compelling. Like, I was rooting for him, especially him and the daughter, that thriller side, him rescuing the daughter, the second half of the movie. I was completely on their side. Like, to me, there's no gray area there. Like, we want them to be rescued, to be safe in the end.
But can't you have a character who perhaps was I don't say a bad person, but a person who did bad things and then changes his life around? Once he had a daughter, he completely changed, and to the point where his wife left him because he wanted to be a family. He wanted to take care. He's like, we can't be doing these things anymore. We have her to take care of. Yeah. And then by the time the rest of the story starts, I don't think he's a bad guy. I think he's the good guy. I think he's the hero of the movie.
That's an interesting question. I guess so. And he's a good guy in that he cares about his daughter first and foremost, or at least what he thinks is his daughter. She's a daughter. Yeah. That would be the other question. Does she ever tell him that he's not even her real dad?
Yeah, I don't know. If she
why
did
would
or
she,
not.
Right? She completely treated him like her dad and loved him.
Sure. And when Sean Penn said, "Do you think I'm your father?" she goes, "I have a father. I know who my father is."
Right. She was amazingly from saying, "Hey, Dad, you're paranoid, and I'm starting to ignore all these crazy rules that you have for me." And even as she's being rescued, she still doesn't confess that she has that other cell phone. Right? She goes from not taking it seriously to suddenly murdering a complete stranger on the road.
A complete stranger!
Because they might be after her.
Exactly!
And of course, she had no way of ever knowing this, but he was the guy who killed Sean Penn.
He tried to kill Sean Penn.
He tried to kill him, but as far as he knew, he was definitely not after her, right? Although, what was he doing on that was the only bullshit factor to me. Like,
that was huge bullshit.
Like,
that they were able to find each other on that road.
Yeah, exactly.
All of them, not just him finding her, but DiCaprio also finding the two of them. That was kind of crazy.
But DiCaprio was en route and had a reason to at least.
But how do you know where to go? And how did you catch up so fast? He was way behind them, and they were going really fast in fast, powerful cars. They both had really fast, powerful cars. Yeah. He was driving this beater. That was kind of there was some BS things. One of the other things was, and I wanted to mention this too because I really loved the shot, and I want to know if you have any ideas about it. DiCaprio's character gets the shit kicked out of him a couple times in the movie, and it's like no effect whatsoever. He jumps out of a moving car window. He falls 40 feet off a building, hitting a tree and landing. And that's the shot I wanted to talk to you about. Do you remember that shot? He's running across rooftops, following some skater guys that the Benicio del Toro character told him to help him. And they were leading him to, eventually they were going to be leading him to some sort of a safe spot where Benicio del Toro's character could pick him up. It was a great shot. They were running and jumping over, jumping from one rooftop to the next, and he misses the jump and falls. And they show it in one take. It's like, is that a stuntman? Was that CGI? He falls all the way. He hits a tree. He's sort of falling all the way to the bottom, smashes on the pavement, stands up, one shot, stands up and runs right to the camera so you can see its face. It's DiCaprio in the shot.
Yeah.
And then as he runs around the corner, he gets tasered, which I thought was also hilarious. I mean, that movie was really funny. That's what I liked most about the movie, was that it was hysterical, I thought. I think if you come into the movie without all the political baggage that a lot of people have, it's a completely different movie, and it's very enjoyable.
Taking it as satire, I think, really helps.
Yeah.
Frame it. Because, again, you're right in pointing out that the quote-unquote good guys, or the guys on the left, were violent and just at least somewhat gray, if not just as bad. Clearly, that's all deliberate. There's not ignorant of that.
But I don't know that you would have any thoughts on it, but you have any idea how they shot that shot where he falls off the roof?
Oh, technically it had to be. No, I don't. I mean, clearly he didn't do it. It had to either.
No way. There's no way he did it.
No. And it's CGI, or it's probably not. It's
maybe
probably
CGI.
It's probably CGI. Or an elaborate stunt with trick photography or something. I don't know.
When I in the movie theater, I was like amazed, and then last night when I was rewatching it, I'm like watching it over and over again to see if I could tell, but I couldn't tell.
I liked that scene, though, because it was more realistic. Even the fact that he made the first couple jumps was pushing realism. Now, he's motivated and all that. He's not, even though he's out of shape, he's not 300 pounds. So, maybe he could do it. But he can't keep doing it with these kids. And sure enough, he doesn't. And then I think the Benicio del Toro character, yes, it was wonderfully acted, but it was also just wonderfully written. And he's like the angel. He reminded me of, did you see Jacob's Ladder? Do you remember Jacob's Ladder?
Yeah, sure. Danny Aiello.
Danny Aiello. He was the Danny Aiello character for this
Interesting.
movie. He's the guy who's doing good things in a world where everybody else is bad and is unreliable. But Del Toro even gets him out after he's been caught.
That was a great, very clever, very clever.
Right. And shows you he had connections and everything, to do that. Called in some major favors. But he's like an angel character. He's protecting DiCaprio beyond plausible.
That's very interesting. I didn't see either of those like you did. The Benicio del Toro character as the angel like Danny Aiello and Jacob's Ladder, or even, and it's hard to believe that I didn't, or even DiCaprio as a Big Lebowski type character, because he was a total burnout, just like the Big Lebowski. I actually wrote that down on the paper to talk to you about, how he never takes off that ratty robe.
Right. And then he's like trying to hide and act cool and everything. He's also the bumbling idiot. And then Big Lebowski, he's a good guy, but he's a complete burnout.
He doesn't even save her. In the end, he doesn't actually do anything. He
collects her. He doesn't actually save her.
He collects her. When I was watching it, though, I saw all these different characters as satirical, as parody. They're making fun of even the Del Toro character. It's like, this is what I got the first time I watched it. When I saw it at the theater, what I thought was P.T. Anderson was making fun of everybody. And the way he was doing that was taking the stereotypes of all these people and putting them to the extreme.
Yeah.
So your sexy black chick who's, just over the top, violent and sexual, the burnout character, he's making fun of yuppies or whatever, people in our generation who, did things and now we're fucking burnouts or whatever. Or also the Benicio del Toro character, it's a stereotype that every Mexican has a big thing where he's bringing thousands of other Mexicans into, everybody on the right, I guess, thinks that. It's a stupid stereotype. And he's actually doing it. He's got this huge apartment complex full of all these illegals that he's taking care of. And he's got all these secret clandestine things for them to escape and do stuff. It's like, it's all funny. It's all parody. I don't see how people didn't get that, except if they're too caught up in whatever they're caught up in to enjoy the good movie.
Yeah, and I think you're right. And some people hate it. There are people I know who would probably never even watch it just because they heard about it. And certainly there are people who could not get through it. Yeah. If I can't take it seriously, the characters granted, I think you're absolutely right. It's satire. He's making fun of everyone. Everybody is just
everybody
up to 11. Every character is up to 11, including Benicio del Toro being the priest. But he was so well written that you just had to show up and be cool, right? Because that was the whole thing with him drinking the beers and Plaza and actually getting away with having dumped him out. And even, not to ramble, but DiCaprio not wanting to jump off the moving car. He's like, okay, you got to go on 4. 1, 2, 3. And then he's like, slow down. You got to go.
It brings me to think about the script. The actors got a lot of acclaim. Del Toro was up for an award. Teyana Taylor was up for an award for her character, and DiCaprio, and Sean Penn. Of all of those, Sean Penn was the only one that won, and I kind of agree with that because a lot of it was the script, like you're saying. All the things he didn't really do much. He just did what he was told to do in the script, drinking the beers and just being completely calm,
Right.
He played it well, but I didn't think it was like an Oscar-worthy performance. The same, to be honest, the same thing with Teyana Taylor and DiCaprio. DiCaprio, I think, I can't say he's underrated because he's an Oscar winner, and I think people realize that he's a pretty great actor, but he's so natural in this role that it almost doesn't seem like he's extending himself, that he's making a great performance because it just seemed kind of natural to him.
Yeah. He had a well-written character. He did it
very well written.
Everybody did a good job. They're great. They're good actors to show up, but I agree that they weren't, other than Sean Penn, they didn't seem like Oscar-worthy, other than the writing and directing.
The writing.
But I don't want to take anything away from it,
Right, absolutely.
Doing a good job showing up and playing the character correctly. I couldn't do it.
You're not giving yourself enough credit. The script did win Best Adapted Screenplay, and it makes me want to read the book. I've never read any Thomas Pynchon. Have you ever read any of his books?
I don't think so.
I've always wanted to read Gravity's Rainbow, which is his magnum opus, I guess you would say. I actually tried once or twice, and it's a hard book to get in. But now I'm thinking maybe I want to read this book. It was called Vineland. And what I've heard of it is that it's a similar story, but it's done very, very differently. It's a completely different time period. So the context is very different. Yeah, it was written in 1990. It takes place in the 80s Reagan era. I would like to perhaps read that book, or maybe Gravity's Rainbow.
Now you're mentioning Gravity's Rainbow, I have to refamiliarize myself, and I might be interested in reading this book. I would say you triggered a thought for me about the two halves of the movie. The first half with the revolution and all the action packed, and it's action packed throughout, but the second half is a rescue.
It's him chasing. It's a chase story, so there's always movement. They're always running. I thought it was done very, very well. Another thing, but I just want to mention that I loved the score that I didn't really notice when I watched it at the theater, but as I was watching it last night, in the different parts where chases were happening, the music really added to it.
For sure.
But back to what you were saying.
Well, I was just going to say the first half was, again, more natural born killers, over the top, fun to watch, but I'm not actually bonding with the characters. And maybe that's on purpose, right? Like, it's a satire. You're not supposed to fall or like take them as heroes. But it was just like a fun half. But by the second half, I was totally engaged. Like, you've got to save her, right? Like, P.T. Anderson, don't kill her off,
Yeah, I think they made DiCaprio a sympathetic character, that you want him to find his daughter.
Does he actually evolve as a character? Because even
I think he does.
He's back to smoking and telling her, go have fun being a revolutionary. Like, he's still on the couch.
I don't know about that, because I think before the events take place with her, he didn't want her to be a revolutionary at all. I don't think he did. And there was a whole thing, no cell phones, no whatever, no. But at the end, he's got his own cell phone and he's taking selfies of himself.
Oh,
he's
that's
asking
true.
her how to help him,
Well, he's joined
properly.
the world, right? But not.
Right.
But they haven't given up who they are. She's still involved.
Right.
They're just not. We presume they're not blowing up buildings, but they're still fighting the good fight.
I think his main trait after the first part of the movie, when it gets to the second part of the movie, his main trait is his paranoia, and he's worried about his daughter. But that seems to be completely gone by the end because sort of kind of the bad guys are gone. The main bad guy, Lockjaw, who is his adversary, is gone. So he can kind of relax. I think that was the evolution of his character, is that he no longer feels like he has to be always on edge, worried about people breaking down his door.
Right.
Because he was before that.
That's valid. You've changed my mind on that a bit.
What did you think about the death of Sean Penn?
I thought that, for as completely absurd as his character was, and the whole group was and everything, but it still fit. Because as they were playing it out, I was like struggling. Like, they sent one of their own members to go kill the guy. Right? And then their member ends up dead. And they're just going to take him back. Plus, he's figured, and he's got this crazy story about sperm thieves. And I thought that his ending fit. And how sad for him that he still went back to them to try and get in, even after what happened.
Yeah, I wonder if he figured out who it was that had tried to kill him.
Well, he rolled down the window. He saw him and shot him. He'd
never seen that guy before. He was one of the adventurers, but nobody he'd ever seen before.
Oh, okay. Oh, so maybe he just didn't figure it out. I mean,
maybe he did. I don't know. But like you're saying, how would he go back to them if he... But yeah, maybe there was some kind of holes, I guess you would say, in the story, that being one of them. Other than, I guess, he really wanted to be in the group.
He was, again, this Chris Cooper type character, like this from American Beauty. Like, that showed just how disturbed he was, and we didn't get a whole lot of his backstory or anything, but he was a messed up guy, like way over the top messed up.
Yeah.
But in the end, this means the Adventurers Club win. They got what they wanted. They got rid of him.
I don't think that was their complete goal, but as far as he was concerned, they were happy to get rid of him.
Right.
I remember in the theater when they accepted him, I was like, yeah, he's dead. He's dead for sure. I actually thought they were just gonna come out and shoot him right in the back of the head or something. Yeah, when they led him to that glass room, I was thinking, oh, they're gonna gas him, aren't they? I called that one like completely. And it was great. He dies with that look on his face, and they carry him away and toss him in the burner. Which is a fitting end for a character like him, I guess.
Yeah. He was a sad character, scary character, but also just sad. Like, always, every scene with him was sad. Again, a crazy, intimidating character. I don't want to downplay that, but clearly at war with himself, over something, including his affection for the main gal. Like, he couldn't handle that. He was joining a literal white supremacist club, which was too extreme for the ICE people to know about. Like, they're even above that. Yeah,
that is interesting, because he did want to be with her. He was in love with her.
He says, you can blow up whatever you want. I don't care.
Right.
Like, he totally lets her go. And
after she was put into witness protection, he goes there with a big bouquet of flowers.
Yeah.
He's already gone.
But obviously she did hook up with him,
He
didn't rape her.
Well, I think she did it. I think she did it to use him, because she knew if she did it once or twice, he would stop hounding her, and then she could do the things that she wanted to do. Yeah. She used it to get her freedom. I thought her whole character was about using people. The only person she seemed to really care about was DiCaprio, but only until she had the baby. Then that was over.
Well, even in the letter, she says, my crazy Pat, or what was his name?
Ghetto Pat.
Ghetto Pat. Take care of my Ghetto Pat. Like, he's a pet to her. Like, she cared about him, but not like as an equal or anything. Really, it was a good movie. I give it a thumbs up, but it's not for everyone. The satire part of it, especially in the beginning, I think would turn a lot of people off, certainly, and anybody who it would be hard to acknowledge all the artistic merit of the movie if you were an anti-immigration person. Give it thumbs up, but go into it thinking of it as satire and you'll enjoy it. If you go in taking it as a political movie, would feel syrupy to me, or I don't know.
Yeah, I think if you go in it with rigid views, I think if you go into any movie with rigid views, you stop yourself from it. You don't give yourself the opportunity to enjoy things that you otherwise might. As someone like myself who is not on any of the different political sides that were mocked in the movie, I could really have fun with it. To me, it was really, really humorous. I really enjoyed it. Like you, I give it thumbs up and all. I didn't think it was like people were talking about it was P.T. Anderson's masterpiece. I didn't think it was that great of a movie. As I mentioned, it felt long the first time I saw it, and there were plot holes, and there was some kind of BS in it. It didn't stop me from enjoying it. I totally enjoyed the movie. I thought it was a very good movie. And yeah. Do you have any other comments you'd like to add?
As an Oscar review kind of recap, I would say they did a good job of awarding P.T. Anderson. And I agree with you otherwise. Like, it was a fun movie, a good movie, but not top 10 movie or anything of all time.
Right. Oh, absolutely not.
Yeah, fun movie, and probably worth in film class and stuff, something you should watch.
To dissect, sure.
And watch how he directed that movie.
I did my little Oscar review video and talked about One Battle After Another a lot because it was up for so many different awards, which I think is kind of ridiculous. I mentioned in the video that there were easily 300 or 400 bigger budget movies that came out around the world, not just in America last year, and that if you took all of the nominations for all the different movies for the Academy Awards, they selected 30 different films, and that's all, which is a travesty for all these other movies. I'm not saying that perhaps another movie was better directed than Anderson did this movie, but there were a lot of other movies that were very well directed, and that all the different things, good scripts and good actors, and that didn't even get mentioned or didn't get any sort of attention. But as you said, this was a really good movie, not a greatest movie of all time. In fact, I mentioned in the video that my top 4 movies of the year were not even nominated for Best Picture. And of the movies that were nominated for Best Picture, I actually had Hamnet slightly above One Battle After Another. I'm not terribly upset that it won the Oscar. I think that's cool, and that's all I got to say about that.
Great.
So are we gonna wrap this up?
Yeah, let's wrap it up.
All right, then that's gonna do it from the Sixth Row Center. We would stay and chat for longer, but there's a movie we're gonna see that's starting right now.